welcome to Raw by Blast. My name is Nicolas and I'm the Director of Product and Experience here at Blast Pro Series. In my line of work, I get to meet a lot of interesting people, not only in the professional Counter-Strike scene, but esports as a whole. And I wanted to share their insights and experiences with you. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of talking to Get Right from the Swedish team Ninjas in Pajamas. His real name is Christopher Aalesund. He's 28 years old and became a professional player at only 17. Written about him online, it says, since the start of his professional career, he has been one of the highest rated players in almost all tournaments that he attended. Get Right combines incredible aim with flawless in-game IQ. His playstyle often prevents opposing teams from executing strategies the way they want, giving his team the advantage. I met Get Right early in the morning in a conference room that had the acoustics of a bathroom somewhere in Eastern Europe. It was just before noon, and he seemed a bit jittery going into the interview.
How are you feeling?
Nervous.
About this?
Because I get very easily nervous. It's not really shown that much, but I do get nervous to everything all the time. But I believe that's a good sign to me personally, because I believe if you're not getting nervous at any point in your life, I think that you're not living life to the fullest somehow. That's just my 5 cents. I can't really give you any more specific or why and whatnot, but that's how I look at it, because I do something for a living that's been giving me a lot of joy, a lot of tears, a lot of sadness, a lot of heartbreaks, a lot of whatnot. And if I wouldn't care, then I shouldn't be here. That's how I see it on it.
So I guess it's also, the nervousness must kick in when you're about to play. You're on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I have a big game coming up, and it started yesterday, and I have one more day.
How do you deal with your nervousness around playing specifically?
I think, that's a tough question. I think that I'm always nervous.
Like a constant state of nervousness?
No, it become even worse the closer the game comes. But it never goes away, never. During the game or whatnot, never, because I see it like this. It's my biggest strength and my biggest weakness. And if I'm not nervous, which have happened before, I don't feel like I care enough. I don't really want to be there. I don't want to play or something like that. And I think it happened twice in my career that I know of, specifically. Every time that happened, I play probably my best CS. But I always lost, always.
When you didn't have that nervousness?
Yeah. But when I'm super nervous, I'm not playing up to my pair or delivering to what I want to, or I've even played even better, I've always had a chance to win. I always have the opportunity or had the ball in my hands to actually seal the deal to win the game. But then that's where the nervousness come in and actually can break you as well, because if I can't handle it, which sometimes have happened during games, I just fell flat and just don't do anything.
What happens when you get like that in the game, like you just mentioned?
I can be very quiet. I can be very stubborn and very stuck to one issue that I did, or wrong doing in the game, or someone said something in the heat of the moment and could piss you off normally. And you become you only think about that and whatnot.
Is it something that happens inside? Do you process that inside, or do you take it out on?
I don't usually take it on anyone, because I think I did it back in the days, but I can't really specifically remember a moment and when it happened and what happened. But I know it always, nowadays, it just feels like it gets stuck inside of my body, and that's the only thing I care about. And it can destroy you, but it also can make you stronger somehow, that I feel like.
How many years have you played now?
I'm turning 29 this year. I've started playing the first beta version of CS, so that's more than 20 years ago, I think, or 20.
And you still get hit with the same level and type of nervousness as back then?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually become worse through the years. I think that I was a little bit less nervous before, but I always, if I can remember correctly, been always nervous. But it's becoming worse and worse through the years. And I think that involves my health issues in general. Because everyone, at least in the professional scenes, know I have stomach issues, and I have ear surgery that I had before that I lost hearing. And I mean, everyone in this scene and whatnot don't really talk about it that much, but I've also had a little, you know, how to say it, like my mind hasn't been on the right side, or like my mindset and my thoughts hasn't been correctly, or how you can say it, like my health when the head isn't been that good either. Not that there's been an issue like that I need to see a doctor about it or whatnot, but I'd had a lot of friends and other people I can't really mention that had issues with their health. And I don't know the English word, what is it called? When your like head, like your mind is twisted.
Your psyche is in the wrong place potentially.
Yeah, exactly, and where they actually need help and whatnot. So I've been through a lot of people like through the years and friends who are still here that has big issues like death and whatnot, you know. And because we're traveling so much and people don't really understand it sometimes, we are also very lonely people. And your mind can twist you sometimes to get you to the points where you feel you're nothing. And you're just doing it because you're selfish or whatnot. And that's a battle that everyone has to go through, I believe. Some people probably never thought about it really like I'm saying it, but I think that a lot of people can at least come up once or twice in their professional career when they haven't been feeling all right.
Of course.
But I've been through more than people may think. I've been through heartbreaking final losses, heartbreaking my real life. People have passed away. I haven't played up to the point I wanted to, had the worst game of my life, lost qualifiers that I shouldn't have lost. My health hasn't helped me out, nearly had to quit because of my health and whatnot, you know. And I believe like it's a very like hard question to answer at the end of the day. But I've been through a lot of things that people may not really know about, at least.
It seems like you're extremely aware of how you're feeling, what you're feeling, both negative and positive.
Yeah.
Is that something that helps you now, this at a later stage in your career? Because it seems like, at least we go fairly way back, I feel like you've always been like that, but you've also had this younger period where, I don't want to say you were reckless, but you played differently, like you mentioned before. Where does that leave you now, at where you're at now in your career and dealing with, I guess, the same kind of dilemmas that you've dealt with for a long time?
I think I've been kind of the same person through the years. I, of course, have grown up a little bit and I'm becoming a little bit differently. I can't say I'm the same person that I was the first time we met, for example. I mean, the first time we met, I was around 19 or 20, or even a little bit younger, you know. I mean, then I was like a kid still. Yeah. Now at least I'm allowed to drink, if it can be like that. But, you know, I'm still 12 years in my head, I feel like, if you ask me, even though I'm close to 30. But I've grown up and I've experienced a lot of things in real life and in the game and whatnot. But something that I've actually thought about a couple of times the last 3-4 years that... like I'm a very emotional person in general. I think everyone that would describe me, I'm not trying to get it that they should think like this, but they always said like he's a very emotional person. That could be good and bad, but
yeah, I think it is.
I can see it as through the years, especially the last 5 years, it changed to become more emotionless, or how do you put it? What I'm trying to say with it is like, before I would always go on my emotion, no matter what it was. But because of things changed during these 5 years, and it took a very like hard like it was a hard time for me personally, I came to the solution, instead of using my emotions straight up and always believe in that, stop yourself and think twice or 3 times. And the older I get, I've always stood by it, no matter if I had issue with my family or someone broke me or I've gotten sad for any stupid reason or something that's a valid point. I'd rather to try to see it from their point of view, or what did I do wrong, or how can I make this better, you know? So instead of using that emotion, which can, you know, tear you apart and make you a better person, I'm trying to stop myself to just being like, hey Chris, just take a breather and try to understand why are they saying this to you, or why did you do this, instead of just like, oh, I fucked up, my life is over, whatever, or blah, 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 and then become emo, whatever you're saying. Instead of just trying to be like, think about the situation, how do you move from this, and become as a better human being as possible. And I believe that saved me a lot of times for the last 5 years, but in the same time, I don't really feel like that's me. I mean, if I would describe myself who I was 5 years ago, I would probably say I was a lot more happier, a lot more sadder, but also I think I would probably say I was a little bit better human being. Now I would say I'm probably even better human being, but I don't really have that emotion that's, you know, that would describe me as who I was before.
At least from knowing you, it seems more like where early on you might have been dictated by your emotions. Now you're reining in the control over them, which makes you capable of making smarter decisions because you're not solely driven by emotions.
No, exactly. And I would say it actually had more negative than plus side, if you ask me, because I believe that as the years goes by, I believe as a human being that it's better to be an emotional person instead of being like a person that some people would say have no soul. And I believe, and what I feel is like I'm becoming more and more to that. Sometimes I can't even come up with a great example, but let's say everyone can see a movie or a film or whatever and a series, and then it can make you very sad. And, you know, they can be very emotional to you because you feel a connection to this situation that happened in that video. And before, I mean, I could sit and cry for about a dog movie for hours.
Sure, we all can.
Yeah, everyone can. But I think if I would watch it again, but not the same movie, like at least another history and another storyline, but it has the same meaning in the end, I think I probably would just cry for 3 minutes and then I'm done. And I think that hurts me because I don't feel that's me every time when I see it. Because I feel that if I've changed so much, which I have, I've become a little bit lost as a person. I don't see myself as the person that I want to be, and I've lost myself during the way.
Do you feel a bit like that?
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Do you think that's because a lot of what you describe also very much sounds like just growing up, right? And forming into what is your more adult self?
Yeah, that's true, but I just see it like this. Why do I need to change something that's very needed for every human being? Like, I'm not saying that I'm completely emotionless or heartless or something like that, but just that something happened that changed me. And I can't still figure out what it is. I just hope that one day I can figure it out and turn back. Like people would say, like some people can have a switch, turn on the emotion and turn it off. I believe that I've actually come to the point where I can actually use it. Like I know how to turn it off and turn it on. I mean, it's a little bit different in CS because CS is a game that's been part of almost my whole life, and I've never used that switch there. So I'm not trying to say that I'm faking my emotions or whatnot on the stage, because otherwise I wouldn't be this nervous every time that I play a game, or I would be caring so much and be so devastated after the loss, or being the happiest person alive when we win. This is just more affecting my personal life, and it's terrible if you ask me.
So it seems like you've definitely gone through, you've had your rough patches, there's been a lot of stuff happening to you that obviously can affect you, and Because it sounds like, to me at least, it's when I've been faced with, things of a size that I don't really feel like I can comprehend, I, as well as a very emotional person, but I can feel almost numb when it happens because I need to process that somehow in order to move on to what is then the next stage of me dealing with emotions, I guess. So the way I hear it, it sounds more like you've been through a lot of shit. Now it's a matter of cleaning that up and coming out on the other side, right? But I guess that can also be like in maybe emotional bandwidth. Say you have set amount of bandwidth, it's gonna run out at some point because it's being spent.
I mean, probably true. Haven't thought about it like that, but I mean, it makes sense when you say it. And I mean, yeah, I mean, you're true. You're saying it. You put it on the perfect, like 100% what you're saying are true, and it just feels correctly what you're saying because you're grown up. You're becoming to the point where you can't use your emotion all the time, especially in works or whatnot it is, because if you use that, you will probably get fired eventually. Like, because you have to just look on every side of the table or other side of the paper, and you have to deal with it no matter how much you hate it or love it. But I just see it like life is just more fun the more older you get. I don't see the whole thing where people are saying I love to be 20 and younger.
I don't get that either.
But I still miss the feeling knowing that I was dictated by my emotions. Sometimes, at least.
Do you think that also applies to you as a pro player? Do you think, is it because I guess you were emotional as a player, because that's how I remember you. You were very emotions on the sleeve in ups and downs, which was beautiful almost to watch because you see raw emotion, right? Is that also what you then mean when looking at maybe your younger self as a Counter-Strike pro versus the more hardened professional, I almost want to say veteran at some point, or legend status? Is that hard to put up against each other because there might be two different profiles?
It is two different profiles when you look at it like that. And I mean, I am two different profiles because before I was chasing the dream of becoming professional. I would never really see that I am a professional, but of course, eventually I got to the point where I can say I am a professional in this. And maybe when I actually come to the point where I accept that I became a professional, I think that I become to that point where I was I have to go to the next profile instead of staying where I was before, where everything was always on the line, it felt like. But also I think it depends how you looked on how it was back in the days. Back in the days where if you became a professional, it didn't mean that you would get $10,000 a salary or what it is nowadays. You couldn't become a streamer, you couldn't do this and whatnot, You were basically fighting for your life every month, it felt like. But in the same time, I felt that I had sometimes a little bit more fun back in the days as well.
In what way?
I think the group of people who played the game back in the days were a lot more closer in a way. I think I've said it a couple of months ago, I would say like this: I would love to meet all the old school players back in the days. I see them as old school players. I don't think no one would say the same words as I am saying, but I would say old school players because I recognized them for years when I was watching them, Because like I said before, I've been playing this game for 20 years. And I'm grown up watching Heat, I'm grown up watching Wimp, I'm grown up to watch Sund, I've grown up to see Sonic, I've been grown up to see Forest. I've been seeing all those players. A lot of them, like Heat and Potties, are close friends of mine, which is even cooler than I thought it would ever be. But I think there was just everything was on the line for everyone, and some people didn't really take it as a profession. Some people were just there to make the easy money, I guess, as well. Not really it was easy money because it was even worse than it was now, but it was depending on your positioning, how you were placing for every tournament. So if you won the tournament, you will be safe for the next 3 months. Depends on if you had okay salary or not. Not that it was, but if it became a team that's not even coming top 3, then it would be a lot
Struggling.
more worse, you know.
Yeah. Because I guess that's where Counter-Strike and in its history, I don't want to call it unfair, but if you look at, let's say you get on a contract with a professional soccer team, great, then you play a full season, you still have to play the best you can each match, but here, you're getting put to the, point of the line at every single tournament, like you said, because you're judged every time. Does that still feel the same as it did back then?
It feels more safer nowadays. I mean, because I was at SK Gaming back in 2008. I got my chance to become a professional earlier than I became, or even 2007. I don't remember exactly. I think actually it's 2008, yeah. And then I got benched/kicked after 2 weeks. I played one tournament and I got fired directly on the spot. Well, not on the spot, but they called me when I was in school. Never really got the answer from why, except when I read the news that I didn't fit socially. But they never said it to me. They ignored me for a whole year, that team, I remember. I even tried to call them and whatnot, but they didn't reply to me. And that devastated me a lot because, of course I was so young, I was 17 or something. But I never gave up. That was the thing with me, I never gave up. So I worked even harder, I became better. I got fired from another team kind of directly, and everything looked like he was that young prodigy that could have been something. That was what the saying, But then after like 6 months, I made a team with other 4 up-and-coming players. Fred, who most people would know who it was, our coach in NIP before. And we beat NIP, SK, Fnatic, and those teams then. And then I got offered a contract in Fnatic 2009, and that's where everything took off. Because then actually Fnatic kind of understood, even they said it after many years, I think it was Carson or Forest, they even said to me, it was surprising that they fired you. Of course they would know that you were young and you were not really going to be that connected to the others because they were so much older than you. But you had everything to become even better than them were, and also carrying the team to the next level. But they just fired you after 2 weeks.
What was the age difference between you and the players in that team?
I was 17, and I know that Robin, for example, because he's a close friend of mine nowadays, he was 5 years older than me, so 23.
And in that age group, that's like a big gap.
It is a big gap. Nowadays, what is it? I think Res is 21. I'm turning 29. It's 8, and then between him and Forrest is 10.
But do you think, just looking back at that, getting benched off a team for not fitting in socially, because we talk about that a lot in the office as well, is that from the early days of Counter-Strike, it's solely been driven by primarily who fits socially together, which almost trumped raw skill at some point, right? Do you think that is what hit you back then, and what did you do from there?
I don't think I did anything differently, to be honest. I just know that, back in the days, I played shit tons of CS. I played it to extents where it was too much. I think that's why it has been taking a toll on my health personally later on now, because I did take it to extreme levels. But I just remember when it happened, and when the second time happened kind of fast after that, was that it didn't matter what they threw at me, I will become even better than them. That was my thing. It was not about a revenge or anything like that, because I never had anything against anything specifically, and many of them are still friends of mine.
But it fueled you.
It fueled me even more. And I think that's why it was when I joined Fnatic, then 1 year later, there's a reason why we won every game against them. It didn't matter who it was. I will crush you. That was my mentality. It didn't matter if we had an off day or they were having an off day, I will crush even harder. That was my mentality. To just let them know that you fucked up. And it sounds a little bit like a revenge when you think about it. But for me, it was never about the revenge. It was just to prove to everyone else except them that I'm better than the news were saying.
You wanted to prove them wrong?
Yeah, not them, others, not them. Because I can understand it, because through my years now and whatnot, there's a lot of people gone past me and been there and whatnot, and through my career, and I know that's part of the circle. I'm just lucky enough to be here still. That's how I look at it right now. But Back then, it was just to prove everyone wrong. Not them as players, organization, what that was, just the fans.
Just everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe that made me a better player as well, because I was never lazy. I was never like, oh, I don't want to play CS today. I had it so many times that I just wanted to give up or whatever it was, or didn't want to join a professional team because I'm scared of flying, you know, I'm like that because you had to fly all the time. I didn't give up because like I felt that if I can prove myself, at least for myself and the fans, eventually I will become good. I mean, boom, it happened. I became the best player in the world. I became esport player of the year. I was in the best team and whatnot that year directly. I didn't shield him after that either. I just kept going. And I think that's the driving force in me. Is like, now when I'm sitting here 10 years later almost, because I'm turning 29 this year, this is almost, I was 19 when everything really started. I'm not sitting here and just like relax. Of course, everyone knows that I'm not going to be putting exactly the same hours that I did in the beginning,
And that might not be the smartest thing to do either.
No, because of my health and whatnot, but they know I will not give up the first, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. I mean, I'm still putting in the crazy hours sometimes. I mean, it shocks me sometimes when the other new up-and-coming players aren't even playing as close to the I do, until this day even, but that's their own choice, that's their own, you know, dedication and whatnot, and I believe that's how they want to do things. But for me, it's like, if you want to be something, whatever it is, you have to give everything for it. And I mean, I was never the talented one. Never. I can never say I was a talented player, otherwise I would be similar to Forrest. But I was never like that. I needed to play. I needed to prove myself that I can become even better than him, to put everything to it.
What fueled you in the beginning was very much a want to prove the fans, the doubters, wrong.
Yeah.
When you got benched, what fuels Get Right in 2019?
Nowadays, it's just about the fans. Nowadays, it's not about winning is everything, of course, and become even better than I was before. But nowadays, the fans is everything to me. What I mean with that is, I mean, of course, it sounds like it's the same thing, but not really, because before I was only caring about the fans, only caring about, you know, what they believe and what they want to know and what I do, if I play good or bad or anything like that. Now I don't really care about it, like performance-wise and whatnot, only that we NFP win. And if I can deliver to the point when they're okay with my performance every time, then I'm more than happy to do that. Because before I wanted to be the best player, I wanted to become even better than the best player, I wanted to take it to the next level and whatnot. Now I'm kind of done with that point of view, if that makes a little bit sense. It doesn't really sound like I make any sense with it, but what I'm trying to say is like, my biggest fuel right now, because I'm turning 29 and whatnot, is to make a legacy that stands out, as saying like, Christopher Aalesund wasn't a player that wasn't known for his most talented thing in CS, or that he was the talented player that everyone spoke about because he was so great. He was the most hardworking person to ever play the game. He wasn't a simple, he wasn't a force, he wasn't whatever you can name, a cold seer or whatever, who has the talent, but he could at least be the one that fought for them to be one of those players, just because he was the most word-hawking one. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, because you describe yourself very much like the guy that didn't have the, because you mentioned Forrest a lot. He seems definitely like a player that just has the pure skill and it comes natural to him and you can see it when he plays. So you as a person feel more like you just wanted it bad enough, but you didn't have that natural skill.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like that, or do you feel like you've reached that at some point and are now just pushing? But you can always get better.
I can say it like this, because me and Patrick, I'm probably going to say Patrick now somehow, but Forrest, we've been playing with each other actually, what is it, 2 months ago was our 10 years anniversary in a way of playing each other. We didn't really talk about it, to be honest.
Didn't even celebrate?
No. Which is strange. I thought we would do it, But that's just me. Maybe I'm just one of those people that thought about it, but I didn't take it in that much about it. I think that he would probably be also honest with it and say I will probably be better than him for 5 or 6 years. But at the end of the day, through the whole 10 years that we played together, he's always been better than me. And he knows about it. But I was always better than him for a couple of years. What I'm trying to say with that is that he had a talent. He was not the hardworking one, never has. But he still wants to play and wants to prove himself to even more. But I don't have the talent. And that's way harder for a person who don't have the talent to fight against. But we complement each other in a sense that we can't describe it. Like, back in the days, like everyone, I think there's highlights and whatnot where people were saying it's a 2vX situations. You don't want to play against these guys. People were always thinking, yeah, they probably said something, they've gone through this a lot of times, they know exactly what they're going to do and whatnot. The honest truth, when we are sitting and playing 2X situations, we don't speak at all. At all. We just do our thing. And somehow it just looks that we have the perfect team play, whatnot, and we're talking and whatnot, but we don't. We just sit and play. And somehow deep in our minds, it feels like we just know what the other person's going to do. Maybe it's a word or something like that, but that's it. And then all of a sudden we win that round. And they keep doing it and go forward. But I would say, now I go a little bit way more off topic, that he's the best teammate I ever had and still have. And would be very weird to not have him on my side. It would be so weird because he took a stand of me in 2010. This was just 1 year later that I joined Fnatic, when half of the team wanted to kick me and half of the team didn't. And he was one of the 2 players actually stood by me and said, I don't want to kick him. I don't know why he did it. I never asked him why. But I appreciate it so much. And that's why I always said the obligation to always, in a way, take care of him. Nowadays, I don't think we really take care of each other anymore because we're so grown up, but we should take care of ourselves. But of course, we're very honest to each other and we're always going to be like that. But and just after 1 year time, I know that when he stood by me and protected me from getting fired / go to the next team, he knew how good I was. And that's something I have in a depth, in a way. No, a depth. Or how do you say it?
A debt?
Yeah, to him that I can never repay.
You actually said in an interview, as 19 years old, get right. You said that you probably was going to retire at 23 or 24. Don't you think that's... Do you remember saying that?
Actually, when you said it, yeah, I know when you said actually that I felt in my body that I'd done something wrong.
I don't think you've done anything wrong.
No, I don't. But in the same time, that time period... The scene was too different. But if the scene was like similar to this, I wouldn't have said that. 100% I would have said like 30 then.
But I agree with you. And it was just funny that you said that when you said something so close.
But at least that was like 4 years at least.
Yeah, but I think my point is actually that you are right. Don't you think that it's more a matter of young players not seeing the longer play, but they're looking short term, right? It's a lot of times, at least the way I see it, why roster changes happen all the time, where all these things happen is because they're thinking short term, they're thinking about next year, about the next event, et cetera, where you, as a more matured player, you're able to see the longer play now, because you're already thinking, great, 29-year-old get right, what comes after this? When do you stop playing? Something that we haven't even figured out in Counter-Strike, when a retirement level age is. It's unknown.
I mean, I remember when I did that comment was 19, I remember the StarCraft 2, or the Broadboard players, not StarCraft 2 because it wasn't really that, or it was coming soon. Anyway, I think they were saying that the retirement age for a StarCraft Pro player or a StarCraft Broadboard player professionally in Korea was 23. I think that's where my answer was.
And that was like reaction times and stuff like that, right? It slowed down.
I mean, I think reaction time is not even close to StarCraft because it has more things and strategies and whatnot. But look on that game now. There's so many other players that's like similar age to me and Forrest.
Yeah, and I mean, we constantly use Virtus Pro as the example. with Neo,
Yeah.
Pasha, and all the old gang still playing.
But I think it's just because esport wasn't, or professional gamer wasn't acceptable like it is today as well. But in the same time, I'm very worried for the next generation, because I'm in that time period where another generation is coming in, because professionally it's not a long living existed professional career choice. Now I'm just lucky enough to even be over time, if you ask me. I'm not over time, I will fucking wanted to do this forever, but at least I'm a realistic person and I don't want it to go too long at least. But then it was just 2-3 years maximum. Now there's options to be 10, even more, depends on how young, old you are. But also I'm worried, what I'm trying to say is, why I'm worried is that people could give even more, at least to some extent. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just talking nonsense, maybe I'm just old grandpa complaining person right now. I feel like I'm very grumpy right now, but that's my honest questions or answers, for myself. And I guess it's just because I've become older that I think about other things that I usually didn't do.
Yeah, because it sounds like right now you're in this journey of going from the young player that looks very short-sighted, because that's how you are, to being the mature player that are now becoming aware of, should probably begin mentoring the young players more. Don't you think that's just where you are in your career? And that's the reason for it?
Maybe. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not even sure what I should answer on it, or what I can answer on it. But maybe.
You mentioned that before when we talked about you watching the game, and you watch a lot of hours of the game. You mentioned that no one else watched the game like you watched the game. How do you watch the game?
I can watch the game just through the minimap on the radar where you can see in the corner. I can see the game and just looking for highlights. I can see the game, how they throw nades. I can see the game, what are they trying to do? How can I see they're setting up a certain player to do this? And what is the backbone on every play? That's how I see the game. I don't see the game of that highlight, how did he manage to win that round or whatnot. I get shocked every time when it happens, because then it's my mind going a little bit off what I'm trying to see. But when I'm looking at the game, I'm trying to always see the bigger picture in everything you do. I'm not sitting and satisfying with, they did a usual A round on Mirage. Hope they win that. Why did they do this? Why are they using against this team? They have already done it 5 times against this one. Why are they doing it? Are they because they know that they're so nervous, the other team, or they're trying to get them off guard with doing the same thing again, which is gonna be, everyone's gonna probably say it's so stupid they do it again, because I know exactly what they're gonna do, but they are not ready for it. Or they just doing it because they don't have an idea how to counter it, and they just have to do something because they're losing too many rounds. Are they just doing it to knowing this player specifically are playing poorly right now, that they can exploit him? Are they doing it because they know they're very terrible on doing a retake on A? Can they fake them out? Can they do it even better? Can they fake other nades from the other side of the map instead of using the normal ones? I see the game, I would say there's 10 plus different situations in my head of every round that happens if I see a game. If I really would sit here in this room right now and just sit and watch the quarterfinals of the major, ENCE versus Liquid, or I think they're playing, for example, I would guess myself to which map they're playing or whatnot. I'm pretty sure that everyone would figure it out in a way, because it's kind of easy nowadays, because you can see everyone's picking bans and whatnot. But I would always try to figure out what are ENCE bringing as their wild card before the game starts, or Liquid. And why are they picking those maps? Is it because Nafly are so good on going at Monster Overpass? and he usually do it once or twice a game. Is he gonna do it? Why did he do it in this specific round? Did he do it because he knows they're allowing money? Probably. Did he do it because he's just on fire? Probably. Are they just doing it because they need a round? Maybe. Like, there's so many things that I see with it, and maybe this team are trusting one specific player or the whole team to do a certain thing, and that's why they're picking a specific map. Now I'm going a little more off topic, but there is a reason why so many teams are questioning other teams' betos and pickings. There is always an answer to everything if you really ask them. Most of the time it's the usual answer: we just want to play the maps we want to play. We don't give a fuck if we're terrible on that map and that's their best map. Which I believe is the correct way to go, because why should you play the maps that you are worse on and letting them have maps they're good on? Instead, take your best map, play against the other's best map, flip a coin, who's gonna win it? Next time maybe you're gonna win. This time you win, or 10 times in a row. I mean, there's a reason why Astralis and the guys back in the days, TSM even, had a losing streak over us for 1.5 years. To be honest, we had many way off days, but we managed to win over them. But it's because we won so many times over them, and it didn't matter which map they throw at against us. Everyone, in a way, I think even them, I'm gonna be honest and say it, back in their head, they're gonna lose the game. And back in our head, we're gonna win the game. It's because we already won the battlefield before the game really started. Eventually they overcome it. It was a relief for them. I know they loved it after when they finally won. And I'm being in the same shoes there. Sometimes, when you played Fnatic when they were in the prime, you didn't want to play Dust 2. If you did, you screw yourself over. It felt like that. And I think that was how they felt when they played it against us, sometimes. But who knows? Maybe I'm way wrong with it, but I know they at least were very happy when they eventually just started winning over us.
Of course, they beat their long-term nemesis of a sort. So you're clearly doing these deep analytical calculations when watching someone play the game, who then right now, in the middle or beginning of 2019, plays to you the most exciting Counter-Strike based on how you watch the game.
I'm not the person that usually always takes star players. I'm always taking players that probably wouldn't be the safe choice. I mean, now it probably would be a safe choice because they are the best team. They have the best players in the team, Astralis. But I would take Xyp9x or Magisk. Because I think both of them are so underrated players that people... If you want to win over Astralis, why are you focusing so heavily on Device, Glaive, and... Dupree, sorry Peter, not on purpose. Because they are the jokers in their gameplay. They are the ones that are gonna make everything happen for the others too. Mag is sometimes gonna do something he's not really used to or whatnot, and he's gonna change the complete game of it. Xyp9x is gonna clutch the round and whatnot. Like, I see it, if you really wanna beat them, you have to first off know how to beat the star players of the team, and when you come over the board with that, you have to take losses to understand it. And when you win eventually a game, you shut them off, all those 3 players, because they are the game changer in their play. But if you really want to win over them, you have to win over those 2, because those 2 in my books are the pillar of the team. Why? People were like, no, it's gonna be Glaive, it's gonna be Device, MVP every tournament is making huge competitive. Yeah, sure, he's very stale, he's very positioning, he puts himself on a great position every time, he does it perfectly. But when that team crumbles, which had happened so many times during so many different tournaments, and I know this for sure because I was a similar case with them where we were dominant, everyone in that team, specifically those 3 players, are trusting Xyp9x so much, for example. I mean, I know that Glaive made an interview before when, I think it was the last Mania when he won in Face It, when he won that 1-on-4 clutch on Mirage, and I think Glaive was with him and he said, I'm gonna go die in a way. It was more, I think it was more like a joke, but it makes a little bit sense when you read it and when you look deep into it. He said it, I'll go and die and I'll let you clutch it. Because they have so much trust in those two players. Magus maybe is not the biggest clutcher and whatnot. Why I'm saying him is because he's the X card of the team. Those three other players, Dupree, Glaive, Device, you know what you're getting. You know what they will do. Sometimes they screw up, sometimes they will just perform normal like they do because they're so dominant right now. When someone way fell off and whatnot, Sigma is coming and rescue the thing. He's rescuing the ship and making them steer up again and make them other three better again. But when they need someone to do something that's ordinary from themselves, that's where Magus come in. And he makes the place where it's nothing special, nothing like that, but he will pump up everyone and give them the extra energy to even come up even stronger. Maybe he did it once, didn't happen to all the other three players, but he made Sipnik back into the game. Everyone got fired up when Sipnik won that 1-on-4 clutch. Everyone is back on the game. That's how I look on them.
So as the very mature, very emotionally adept legend that you are, get right, what would be your one advice to the youth that you don't feel like is investing enough into the game in the long term? What would be the one smart advice if you were forced to give one?
Believe in yourself. I think there's so many players out there. They're so talentful, even up and coming, whatnot, the other scenes or whatnot. They're never feeling that nothing is really paying off. But does everything have to take 1 year time, 6 months time to pay off? Man, I played this game for 20 years. I finally became, like in my books, a real professional in 2007. The game came out in 99. It took me 8 years. Why does it have to take a year? I don't understand it. Maybe I'm just a stubborn, an idiot, or whatever it is. I'm just retarded, or whatever people may say, because I put it in these hours and years. Maybe it's just because of the love I had for the game. But just look through every other sports, traditional, esports and whatnot. There's so many players that's gone the same route as me. Some were not fortunate enough to took them 6 months. A little bit longer, not much. Which is like nothing esport age. But for me, it took that long to become anything close to be the best. Or anything close to be good. Why does it have to take 6 months to 1 year? I don't see it. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm stubborn. Maybe I'm not seeing the dollar sign or anything like that. Maybe I don't really get the support at home. I don't know. I can't give an answer really on that, but I'm always saying a simple answer to any advice to them, and there's not really advice. It's just believe in yourself. Because soon enough it will just help you. Hard work always pays off. You just have to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, why are you working your ass off?
And on that note, we finish our talk with the Swedish superstar Get Right. If you enjoyed this episode, then please remember to subscribe, as we will bring you more episodes with pros, people of the industry, about their work life, but also just life in general. Thank you for listening.
If you like that video, you'll love these videos, and make sure to like and subscribe to Blast if you're watching.